Initially, I was inspired by one of my coaches, my youth coaches, when I was 10 years old, Ted Adams. Ted Adams is an all-time winning coach in Nassau County, and he was my coach. Actually, before he became the Hempstead High School coach, he was a youth coach, and he was my first coach at 10 years old. And he was a school teacher as well as a youth coach. And then ultimately, he got the job at Hempstead High School. But being that he was a teacher and a coach, I always admired him, what he represented, and it was a source of inspiration. Over the course of my high school years, I realized as got involved in athletics. I started athletics when I was young, and during my high school years, I always had an admiration for the teachers and what they did, and also my summer jobs was working at youth camps, so I like working with young people, and so I guess during my high school years, I decided that I wanted to coach and teach. I like to put an emphasis on teaching kids how to learn, to become independent learners. I think if you can become an independent learner, I think that's the key. And you can be self-taught throughout your life, because your life is a learning process. Well, in terms of coaching, I teach my players to be serious, disciplined, tough. That's our motto. I teach them that because that's something that those are three intangibles that you have to have in order for you to be successful as a player. Or in parenting, I teach my children to have a relationship with Jesus Christ as the Savior. That's number one. Also teach them those values in terms of being respectful, disciplined, and serious, just as I teach my players. And most of my children are involved in athletics. So I guess I teach them myriad of things in terms of how I relate to my students, how I relate to my players, and of course, my relationship with God. And I want them to understand that, because I know that's been my guiding force throughout my life. When I was in high school, we were very competitive athletically. We were really unified because we grew up together and playing sports together. It was almost like a farm system, if you will. We started from very young, from 8 years old, playing football, basketball, and even lacrosse. And we played those sports. We matriculated all the way through from the youth program all the way through high school. So we had a great relationship and we had a winning mindset. Unfortunately, the children today, or the students today, having grown up in that mentality, that culture isn't present. So it has to be retaught. And I think that element is what's missing amongst the young people, especially in athletics. In terms of academics, I think students, they have a lot of distractions, more so than we had. So although they know that academics is important, I think because they have so many distractions, it's not at the forefront of their responsibilities. So I think that has kind of distracted them a little bit in terms of their academic success. As my experience growing up in Hempstead impacted the way I raised my children, I would say absolutely. One, in terms of athletics, being competitive, that was a mindset. That actually helped me not only on the field, but also off the field. The more I became competitive on the field, I became competitive in the classroom. So it helped me with my success throughout my life. So I try to instill those values, the same values, in my children and raising you and your brothers and sisters. And so I think it absolutely had an impact. One important thing, I think, as I mentioned earlier, the motto, serious, disciplined, tough. I want them to be, my students and players, to be serious, very focused, intent in terms of what they want to do, and to follow their dreams. Discipline, I always tell them, discipline is doing things, doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, and the way you're supposed to do it, and also to respect the one that's teaching you, whether it's your coach, your parents, or your teachers. and toughness. Sometimes you don't want to do those things that you're supposed to do. You don't want to do it when you're supposed to do it or the way. But there's a mental toughness that's inherent in success. So I try to teach them those values, and hopefully, if I can instill that in them, because it's what's helped me. It's what helped me throughout my years, and so I think those are important characteristics to have.